Okay, let's go.
A new beginning awaits for all of us in 2025 and in the present moment. I'm Nicole Lee. Thank you so much for tuning into my new podcast, You Never Know, where we talk about life, career, change, and the stories of people who have taken the unconventional road and embraced the unknowns. Where we talk about things we don't normally talk about with our families and sometimes even with our friends, especially in this part of the world here in Asia. You know, it feels so unreal sitting in this beautiful studio here at Podster in Singapore, recording my first solo episode. It sometimes can get a bit emotional for me because podcasts have been such a big part of my journey these past few years, and it's made such a huge impact on my life. When I hit rock bottom in 2023 and into parts of 2024, listening to podcasts from people all over the world helped me so much to open my mind and, more importantly, my heart to ideas and perspectives and practices and truths that was so different to what I learned growing up from my family, society, education, religion. But I've learned so many things that I've resonated so much with. So thank you, Stephen Bartlett, Jay Shetty, Danny Morrell, Lewis House, Mel Robbins, and so many more. Your podcast helped me to see things so differently, and they helped me to want to face myself, to discover things I never knew, and to peel and question the layers and layers of beliefs and programming I accumulated all these years of my life, and to want to discover the truth of who I really am. And this is why I'm here, to inspire, to share, and to help you find your truth too, in my very own way. To surface what we're going through every single day as people growing up in Asia, regardless of your generation, your gender, or your goals. To give different perspectives to the life we think we know, because you never know what life can bring and the choices we need to make for ourselves. So, if you don't know me, let me introduce myself. I'm Nicole Lee. I was born and raised in Singapore, a small but mighty island city-state in Southeast Asia, about 1.5 degrees north of the equator, known for being one of the top financial, innovation, maritime, and aviation hubs in the world. Growing up in Singapore or in Asia can mean different things for different people. I grew up Catholic in a more conservative Asian family that valued hard work, excellence, perfection, and a ton of discipline. Most of my friends were of Chinese descent, but in a multicultural society like Singapore, I was also exposed to friends and cultures, though to a lesser extent, that were Malay, Indian, Eurasian, and Western. Like many Singaporeans, I was forced to study hard, get good grades. Like scoring 98 marks on my maths paper wasn't good enough, I aimed for good schools and tried my best to play that role of the ideal kid that most Asian parents would love to have and like to tell their relatives about. And that came, honestly, with its own set of pressures, expectations, rules, comparisons. So looking back, what's interesting is that while I went through the systematic Singapore system, where you're taught to follow instructions and rules and follow the crowd, I felt like there was often an internal struggle within me, like I didn't want to, but I had to follow the rules. Like I was different, but I didn't quite know why or how. So when I was 19, I ended up studying accountancy at the Singapore Management University because my parents thought that everyone needed accountants, that I would have a job after graduation no matter what. But the truth is that I could never, ever balance a balance sheet. And it was honestly so boring for me. And no offense to all the accountants and the auditors out there, but it was just not for me. And what I realized was that I scored so much better in modules like communication, leadership, and even finance. And I was really good at presentations and speaking in front of a crowd. And it's interesting because looking back, I kind of knew what I was better at since a young age. And I think in many ways, we all kind of knew in one way or another what we were good at and who we are. But we forgot everything or a lot of it growing up in life. And we don't really know at that time what it really means for you and for your life. You know, sometimes you just brush it off and you're so focused on looking for a job that pays you a lot of money. You're looking at what everyone around you is doing. You're looking at what your parents want you to be, even though you know that they care for you and they love you. And there is no right or wrong because we all have our own paths and journeys to take. But it just makes me remember how so many of us are so lost at different stages of our lives because for so long we don't even know ourselves because we've been living our lives for someone else. So I didn't want to be an auditor or an accountant and also never wanted a career in a bank because everyone around me wanted it. And I never understood why, apart from the fact that, it pays well. And I never had a high enough GPA score to even qualify for the graduate training program at banks, which were extremely competitive. So I was a little rebellious, and against my parents' wishes, I went into events management for a short while, which I thought was more me, and it was, right? But it came with a set of really challenging dynamics as well. And interestingly, because of that, and everything happens for a reason, the universe actually took me to exactly the place that I didn't want to go, a bank. And which I'm very, very grateful for. Is just an example of where life takes you to and you never know. So I worked hard, gave my best, and spent 13 great years at a top private bank in good roles and in good positions. I rose up the ranks quickly. And then I decided to take a leap of faith to join a fintech startup 2 years ago, which quite frankly changed my entire life. And and a lot of people ask me why I left a comfortable, well-paid, prestigious job for something many people thought was worth less, because I had to take a pay cut and not many people knew the startup for so many reasons. And I can tell you honestly that it was so hard. Not the hardest, but one of the hardest decisions in my life. And it may not have made sense from the outside and to people I know, and many people doubted me for sure. Some people thought I was going to fail. Some people thought I was doing something reckless. Some people thought I was in a midlife crisis. But truly, I left mainly because I knew I had so much more to give. I had so much more that I could be, and that there was so much more to life than the role that I had. And I say it now like it was a very easy decision, but it was completely not. I had to have faith in myself and to have the courage to walk away from something good. I remembered sitting at my desk and playing this thought in my head over and over again before deciding to quit. And even way before that, I kept asking myself this question. What version of my life story would I want to tell myself 2 years, 5 years from now? Would I be truly happy and fulfilled if I stayed exactly where I was? And the answer was no. And what I didn't realize at that time was that I was actually imagining, in fact, I was manifesting the future version of me that I saw could be so much more enriched, colorful, empowered, and abundant in knowledge and experience than the version of me at my desk. And while I had no idea what my story might actually look like, I knew that I didn't want to tell the same story as I did today. That even if it was scary, even if it meant walking into the unknown, even if it meant that people around me may have doubted me, that the only way I could change my future story and the future version of myself was to change what I have today. So I left for a bigger client-facing role at a fintech startup because I believed that it would open more doors of opportunity after that. I could learn about sales, about business, entrepreneurship, blockchain, alternative investments, and the entire fintech space. And it was really cool, and I'm so grateful to have been given a chance by the management of the startup as well to take on this big role, and which really changed everything. And truly, I did learn so much. And for those of you who are in the startup space, you know that 2 years at a startup can feel like 4 or 5 years in a corporate. And I'm not even as exaggerating. And you do everything and anything regardless of your rank or your title, and you get exposed to running a business, to all departments, functions, and decisions all at once. And, it's like trying to shoot a three-pointer in a basketball court while running on a treadmill all at the same time. Your learning and awareness just expands at such an accelerated pace. But that also means that your exposure to the intensity and the pace and the expectations and the drastic shifts you experience from corporate to startup in terms of the environment, the people, the resources, the circumstances are all accelerated too. And I've never said this publicly, but strangely, amid all the change and the chaos and the exposure, it also made me become more of who I really am. It made me learn more about myself, who I want to be, what I like, what I'm good at, what I enjoy, what I don't enjoy, my style, my resilience, my creativity, how I deal with people, who I like to work with, a lot of things. And in becoming, I grew and I changed exponentially. I had to learn how to better manage myself, my team, my clients, my emotions, my stress, my anxiety, to weather the ups and honestly the many downs. And that's when I started meditating, journaling, therapy, which I have since stopped. And I'm so grateful for my therapist as well. And that's when I started opening up about how I was feeling to more people. I started to develop so much more empathy for people around me and realized that everyone, in one way or another, is going through something in their lives. And I would never have thought about so many of these things, about these healthier and more sustainable coping mechanisms, if not for the podcasts that came into my life. And that's the truth. And this is why I'm sitting right here in front of you, recording my very own podcast. This is why I set up a new community of authentic people that genuinely want to support and help each other. And if you're watching or listening to this and resonating with this so far, I'm sure that you were drawn to this for a reason. Because despite all of the challenges and things in life, despite everything that life has thrown at me, I know deep down that I am meant to have gone through everything, both personally and professionally, to know what it feels like to go through crises and to learn from them, and to know what it feels like for you so that I can share and help you in the best ways I can through the lessons and truths and experiences that I've had. Because for the first time in my life, I'm learning to care less about what everyone thinks and learning to care more about finding and speaking my truth and helping others to find theirs too. I'm learning that it's okay to be seen for who you authentically are. That it's okay not to follow the crowd. That it's so important to drop other people's baggage, imprints, and beliefs to remember who you are and to live the life you were meant to live. So, what next after my fintech startup adventure? I am rewriting my life story, realigning my life with my more authentic self, exploring new job opportunities, journeying with my community, and launching this new podcast. Because this is all me. It's all of me. And wherever you are in the world, thank you so much for listening and for your support. It means so much to me. And if you liked the podcast and want to hear more from me and my guests in the future, it would mean so much if you clicked on the subscribe or follow button. I would also love to hear from you, your comments and thoughts, and what you'd like to hear more about in future podcast episodes. I have no idea yet how often I'll be releasing the podcasts, where this will lead me to, or how this would eventually evolve, but I am trusting myself, taking the inspired action to be the person I want to be in this moment, getting this started and sharing this with you and with the world. Thank you for being part of this genuine You Never Know community that collectively wants to grow and transform to be happier, healthier, and more abundant in your life for you and for the generations to come.